needs and wants. And if you didn't get a chance to hear that first webinar, it was really, really impacting for me to hear it again as I'm talking about it, to think about what really are needs and what are wants, and, what can I get rid of and what can I was at Walmart thinking about you guys tonight, and as I'm coming out, I'm thinking, there were things I had in my cart tonight that I actually put back because of this class that I'm giving. And so I had this carpet, I thought, that I wanted to put in front of the door. I thought, nope, I'm putting that back because the girls, would probably yell at me if I did that. And I don't think we have any guys in tonight, but we haven't had too many guys take advantage of this class yet. So anyways, but getting back to needs versus wants and really talking about what are true needs, what are things that are kind of niceties to have, and then what are just wants that we're kind of being impulsive about. So we talked about how we get into debt. We looked at having that paradigm shift where you're changing your thinking, because now you're a buyer for your family. You're the buyer of your home company. You're the purchaser. You're the one who's making the chief financial officer decisions. And just like, you wouldn't want to sink your company into a lot of debt or drama, you also don't want to sink your home life into that. And so we talked about, instead of mindlessly buying when the price is low, stocking up when the prices are low. Instead of buying on impulse, purchases are made based on your spending plan. Waiting becomes an everyday word, and we begin to think outside the box. So those were some of the important key aspects of, really changing your thinking. And so we said, all these ways that we get into debt we talked about, whether it's not making a plan, not creating margin. And that's why I want to go back kind of quickly here to the triangle. After we set up a budget, then the next step is going to be to create margin. And we will get into some of that tonight. And if you missed it Tuesday night, I got off on a little bit of a rabbit trail in hindsight, talking probably too much about couponing to start. But we want to talk tonight about how to create that margin. We're going to get into that more. So hopefully everyone that's here, yeah, Martina, you're here, good, because I know you were here the other night, and so hopefully tonight will still even yet be a little bit different from the other night. So, okay, so we talked about documenting your debt, create a list of your debts, all that kind of stuff. And let's come down here. We're going to be talking about tonight setting up a budget. And believe it or not, I don't have a ton of slides for you guys. Oh, and you know what? I'm not in my autosave version. Okay, well, while I'm talking, maybe I was in autosave and I want to be in the other one. Well, I'll find it here. But anyways, here we go. So, oh, no, still not there. But so long story short, what we want to talk about tonight is setting up a budget. And this is your spending plan. Call it a budget, call it a spending plan. This is you're planning out how you're going to spend your money. And this is so key and so important to all of this. Just as much as, this part and the documenting your debt are like hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. And so we want to talk tonight about how to effectively set up an effective spending plan. I'm talking, stop thinking about how much you owe everybody and worrying about that and trying, and obsessing, blah, blah, blah. You need to start thinking about how you're going to be spending your money in the best possible way to get yourself out of debt. So while debt, yes, I know has been the primary focus the first couple weeks of the class, now we need to start thinking about spending, the everyday plan that you have for where your money is going to go, how you're going to spend it, what you're going to do with it. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind for me in that is your income. And so the one slide, I don't know where that slide went, it looks like it totally disappeared, but whenever you are setting up your budget, you need to take a look at what is your income. And then you're going to take a look at, and that's probably the most easy to determine because you get a paycheck and that's your income. But the next step then that we're going to really get into tonight is talking about your fixed bills and your variable bills. So in our monthly bills, some of those are going to be fixed. Some of those are going to be variable, meaning some of them stay the same every month. Your rent stays the same, but your heating bill probably fluctuates. Your phone bill might fluctuate. So we're going to take a look at how to set up that list. And then also take a look at your debt. And this is where I feel like I really didn't hit home the other night when I gave, so I'm so glad that we're retaping tonight because I really don't feel that we talked effectively enough about, these two areas and then taking your margin to create that emergency fund. And so that's what, we're going to talk a little bit more about tonight. And so even though the slides aren't all there that they were the other night, I'll still try to find them again, but I really don't know that they're going to be in either of these. It looks like I'm just kind of stuck, but okay. So long story short, what we want to really do is we want to take a look tonight on how to set up this spending plan. And so what we're going to do is we are going to take a look at a mock budget or a mock spending plan. And so obviously, whenever we have, income coming in, and this is all just kind of a guesstimate, which is what I talked about the other night, you want to obviously prioritize your bills in order of importance. And what we decided and talked about the other night is that you have to have the main things first: your rent, your utilities, your phone, your car payment, okay? And these are the things that absolutely must be paid first so that you can work and have a car to work and to get you to work and have a place to live. These are the key things here, and then some of these things can are kind of flexible. The rest of the things that you might pay for, whether it's like we talked the other night, you may have a house phone, or you may have a cell phone, or you may have both, and you really need to prioritize which one is the best for you. Or maybe, you have a prepaid that isn't that expensive, and so you can kind of hang on to that. But what you're going to want to do is make a list of all your bills. And this is where being organized is really going to help you. You're going to want to have probably a 3-ring binder of some sort with this in it, so that you can open it up every time you get paid and you want to try and check off your bills as you go. And so you can see here that what I do is, and what I told the other group the other night is that I do the complete finances for my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother's like 82. My mom helps take care of her, and she does all the medical stuff where I take care of all the finances. And this is just, my personality is I love to be super organized with this stuff. So they've kind of relied on me with this, and I've never paid one of their bills late, and I've never paid one of my own bills late. So I kind of pride myself on that track record, and it's partly because I have this checklist. It's not that I'm super, good at this or whatever. I just am obsessive about making sure I come back to the checklist every time there's a paycheck to make sure all the bills are getting paid, that they're getting paid on time. So what I want to go back and talk about, even without the slide, is there are 2 ways to create. What we want to do is create margin. So when you're setting up your budget, the goal of setting up your spending plan or your budget is to create the margin or the extra surplus. You're trying to create a surplus on what you're spending. And so to do that, we have to either A, increase our income, B, decrease our spending somewhere, or C, you're going to do both. And so the only way you can increase your income is either A, by going to school for extra schooling, taking on a part-time second job, or starting a business. These are the 3, or maybe getting a job if you don't have a job now. So these are the ways that you can increase your income. The ways that you can decrease your spending or your expenses is by looking at your bills and looking at all the spending categories, because some things you will see on your budget are actual bills, and some things are going to be what we call spending categories. And so when we go back to our budget, food, clothing, birthday gifts, and other kinds of presents, Christmas vacation, these are all, these are not bills. These are spending categories that you spend out of, but you may not be keeping track of what you're spending. And so what I told the group Tuesday night is you must have a checkbook ledger. It is imperative that you start with a checkbook ledger. Please do not just check your balance every couple days. You can't really have an effective spending plan if you don't have this kind of budget and you don't have your checkbook register. You need to be keeping track at all times, and that's what we're going to hopefully get better at over the course of this year if you're not already doing it. So coming back to these fixed bills, one way to decrease your expenses is to either move to a place with less rent. There's lots of variables here that only you have control over. And I'm not going to hold your, hand necessarily. I can, and not that anybody's asked me, but I just mean I don't want to spend too much time going over each of these things. You know that there are areas and ways that you can, decrease some of these bills, these fixed bills, and some of the variable bills that you see. And you have to decide, each decision is going to have to be weighed that you make. For example, we have our heating oil in Pennsylvania. Some of you might not be from PA, but we have a really, cold winter at times. And so we have heating oil in the winter, but I get on a budget plan and I pay it all year as I go because it's easier for me to do that, and I don't have to keep track of it. When it's crunch time, I don't have to try and set a bunch of money aside. And I will tell you, I could probably save a little if I told them, don't automatically deliver, don't put me in the budget plan, I'll call you when I need you. And if I were to just call them and have the oil delivered, then, I would be saving a little bit of money, but it's not worth that headache to me because I just can't keep track of all. I tend to be very forgetful. So because I'm forgetful, I have certain things automatically deducted, and there are certain things like this where I just have it set up on some kind of budget plan. But one thing that I've always done and will continue to do is that when I have a bill come in, I already have money set aside for that bill. I have it so planned out that when the paycheck comes in, I never ever have to worry about, that money has already been planned ahead, set aside. And we can talk a little bit about how to do that. And I have tons of family members that I have worked with. I have had people at other jobs come to me and say, help me, put me on a budget. I know you're good with money. Help me, show me how to do this. And so the one thing that's different between me and them, or them and myself at times, what I've seen is they do not plan ahead. They don't even think beyond next week. They can't, because they've either worked themselves into such a hole that they can't, which that's a lie, because they really can. And I know, we all lie to ourselves about things. So I think that's an area where a lot of people lie to themselves that, I can't get ahead. I can't get ahead. Yes, you can get ahead. And we're going to talk about, some of that and some different ways that we can do that over the next, over tonight in the next couple of classes. But so either way, we want to try and decrease these expenses. We're not going to get into creating more income tonight. That's a whole other webinar. But, decreasing these expenses and ways that we can do that to create margin. So this is where if you have questions, you want to put them in the chat maybe. And, we really need to, let me just double check your comments here. Hang on a second. Okay. Okay, so we are going to, okay, yeah, Ruth Ann, I totally get your question there. Yes, Robin's right. Use the lowest average for the month, and then the overage can be used on other debts, right? Okay, I will get the budget form available to everybody, and I will make sure that you can download. Yes, definitely we'll try to get it into some kind of copy for you. Courtney and I can work on that together probably. If not, I can do it into a PDF. I definitely know for sure. So as you have questions, go ahead. I'm going to keep this little chat box open in the right here. I know it's probably in your way a little bit, but I still want to be able to see if you have questions. Okay, so going back to this now, we need to look at how we are going to get ahead on these bills so that when they come in, we really want to make sure that you already have money there to pay them. And so the most effective way, first, a couple of effective ways that you can do that is when your taxes come in. People tend to, when their taxes come in, think that that is like wild money. They spend it on Christmas or vacations, or they just spend it on what they want, okay? And the best way to spend, and I know that most people get, if you have kids, some kind, even if it's $1,000, that's enough money so that you can set aside so that as those bills come in, you can go ahead and, you have a kind of a cushion there to start so that you can start planning ahead. So like right now, it's almost the 15th. So we're going to be coming up on the middle of the month, and most people, like, I don't know which, we get paid, I get paid twice a month, where my husband, he gets paid every other Friday. So with mine, because I'm only paid twice a month because I'm a teacher, I never get those 2 extra pays a year where my husband does. He has, he actually gets 2 paychecks, an extra paycheck 2 times a year. They're 6 months apart. So most people know that extra pay comes, for us, it's like, I think like July and maybe February, that we'll have an extra pay thrown in there where certain bills don't have to come out of that pay, then at that point. But what we from the get-go is, as soon as I get paid, you divide, and that's what we're talking about here. If you have 2 paychecks a month, if you have 1 paycheck a month, whatever your total is, and this is what I showed the other class the other night, if you go on Excel and you click in the box, now you might do yours on paper, but if you're in Excel, and if you come all the way up here to the top of your numbers and you hit the sum button, it'll put your total in the bottom box there. So so in other words, you just, you kind of go like this, you hit your sum button, and it gives you your total. This is your total fixed bills per month. This is what listen to me, this is what you have to pay. You know that whatever this number is, every month it is not going to budge unless you shut something off or get rid of something. Okay? So, in other words, you're going to want to take this number, jinkies, and you're going to divide it by 2. So this number divided by 2 would be $1,204. That you should be setting, if you're in your checkbook register, and I'm going to open up a new worksheet here, and we're going to pretend like this is your checkbook register. So you have your date, okay, and you have your description, and you have, let's say, I think it's a debit on the right, and then you have a credit, and you have your balance, okay? What you should be doing is, okay, if your balance is, let's say, you're down to the wire, and you have $50 in that account and before you get paid, and on January 15th, 2012, you're going to have a paycheck come in, and it's going to be, let's say, $2,000, okay? So now your balance is going to be $2,050. You know, let's pretend that half of your bills are, you know, let's say, I'm trying to think here because I made the other scenario a little bit higher. So let's say that you're, and this is why, I see that, Jennifer, and this is why you have to have your register. This is so important. Okay, so watch what I do here. So my budget, or my balance right now is $2,050. Okay, and let's say that I know that my bills are going to be $1,200. So I'm just going to put in a fake scenario here. Right away in your ledger, you go, okay, rent is going to be, let's say, $700. So now my balance is going to be, got to get my calculator out here. My balance is going to be $1,350 now. Okay, and then maybe I have utilities. And let's say that's going to be another $100. Now my balance is $1,250. And then I have the phone. Okay, now, because I'm getting paid on the 15th here, and I've divided my fixed bills by 2, then I only have to take out half of whatever my bills are. So if my bills are $1,200, I would only have to take out $600 out of this, you know. Now, you may not be at that point yet where you can do that because you've gotten yourself kind of like down to the wire with when the bills come in. But as you build your margin, you should be able to get to the point where as soon as that paycheck comes in, there are in the next 2 weeks, you have enough money to make sure that all your bills are paid. So for example, in our family, most of the bills come out of the first payment and some of the mortgage, or paycheck, I'm saying, and then the second paycheck is all, you know, mortgage or rent, whatever you want to call it. So if you only get paid one time a month, that is like the worst. I have to tell you, it is so, I don't know, there are so many people that it's so hard to discipline yourself for 4 weeks, because my grandma gets Social Security and, you know, they only get paid once a month, and so I see it with her how difficult it is to make it last the entire month. So what you should be doing is you should be dividing taking out all your fixed bills and then dividing all your leftover money by 4. And if you have a month with 5 weeks, that's when it's really tough, because then you have to split it across your leftover pay across 5 weeks. So you should be paying all your bills out of that first paycheck, and then you should start, you know, take it all out of that first paycheck, and then you should start dividing whatever's left over by 4, and you don't spend more than that. But it's fun. Once you start doing that, it's fun and it's a game. You know, it's to see how low can you go. It's like the limbo, you know, how low can I spend this week? What can we do? How can we be creative to really not spend anything this week? You know, and I see that Ruth Ann's even talking about the cash envelope system. That's another really good way to kind of manage, you know, your cash and the way it's coming in and going out. And I think a lot of that just depends on, you know, personality too. You know, if you can handle having the cash around, then go with the cash envelope system, definitely. You know, I tend to be so obsessive that I don't find that I have to do that as much, but I think probably because I'm so obsessive that I know my checkbook down to like the penny most of the time, and I know exactly how much I have to spend and exactly where it's going. But we can definitely talk about that too. But the envelope system is basically where you have envelopes that you put cash in, so that when you go to pay a bill, that money is another thing is you better make sure you have a safe in your house and that nobody in your house steals. You'll be okay if you do that. But the cash envelope system is where you take envelopes and you actually, put the name on the front, rent, the name on the next one, utilities, name on the next one, and you put your cash all in those different envelopes. Okay. And so, you have to, the only way that we're going to get any of you guys over this hump that we're talking about is to make you start changing your thinking. You're going to have to start, you're going to have to start thinking about, I can't spend what I want to spend. I may not be able to have everything that I want on the amount of money that I make. And that's going to be really tough. But, Ruth Ann actually goes to my church, and I'm sure that, not that we're going to necessarily get into religion or anything like that tonight, but I do feel that, when we change our mindsets, we get blessed. And I really feel that God has blessed my family. And I'm going to share one story with you briefly, and then we'll get back on track here. But my husband and I, we have prayed since we were early married for God to show us what to do with our money. And this past summer, we have a nonprofit. I don't know if you guys know that, but we help needy people in our area here. We help about 60 families a month. And at Christmas, we help adopt out over 100, and we give them free toiletries. So we have 60 families a month usually that come in, get their free toiletries, and go ahead and go. And so one thing that happened, because that is part of most of our giving in that situation, has become kind of our way of kind of showing the Lord that our hearts are in the right place, I guess I should say. What we've done is prayed about things, and God has shown us, and we've always had the rent down to the penny sometimes, but we actually this summer needed a new washer, and I'm not kidding you, it sounded like a rocket going to the moon. I thought for sure that thing was going to fly out of the top of the house, and we were going to be, totally totally putting on a new roof. But anyways, so we prayed about it, and we just said, Lord, we need a new washer. And we were in the process of thinking of, we have our son's adopted from Guatemala. We're, praying through, are we going to adopt again? What are we going to do? And we started some classes that we had to pay for at that point, which we've since taken a break from, but at that point we were paying for these classes, so we didn't really have all the money, to get a new washer right then. And so we prayed about it, and within a week, my father-in-law came to us and said that the neighbor at my mom's house was working for a guy that owned rental properties, and the people got evicted and never took their washer and didn't want it, and we got a brand new Samsung washer for free. I'm not kidding. So what I'm saying to you is, if you haven't prayed before about your finances, you might want to start, because many times, down to the penny, things have happened for us. And I think what happens is that, and then I'm going to say my last piece, and then I'm going to get off my soapbox here, but there are many times where, God has just amazingly blessed us at the last minute when we needed it, because, and this is something that I'm just going to share from my heart, when my husband and I approach our money, it's not our money, it's his money. And whatever he wants to do with it, we need to try to be obedient to do, what God wants to do with our money. And so we've tried to be, just obedient in that area. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking, yes, always 10%, Ruth Ann. Well, Ruth Ann, I'll be honest with you, I have questioned God on this on many occasions, and have really kind of prayed through. For us, here's just one example, and this is something that is really personal, but we just have really struggled with tithing while we've had our ministry. We have this nonprofit because our name is on that lease, and so if at any point, our sublet would move out, my husband and I would actually be responsible for that leftover rent, and we're talking like $1,000 a month. So we've actually our church is actually paying our rent for us, our part of it, but our sublets, if they were to move out on a whim or something, we would be, originally it was in the tens of thousands of dollars. And so for a time we had to actually stop giving to kind of bank some money to be prepared, if something happened with our ministry, that we could kind of, take over those payments. So I do believe that, it depends on your heart and what, I think giving your time, I think, there's other ways of giving to God. And so while, I think people can get so focused on a number of percentages, you just have to be really careful, because, that's not what the most important thing is. The most important thing is love. And I don't think that God's going to look so much at did we give to the exact percent, or did we love people? So that's just my little 2 bits there, and then I'm going to move on. So for those of you that didn't want to hear about church, I'm sorry, we're getting on a sidetrack there. So, okay. So going back to our register, what you really want to do is when that paycheck comes in, so for when you're saying that you get paid once a month, you're going to want to, as soon as that paycheck comes in, take out every single bill that's due. Okay, and so if we, Jennifer, you just email me. I'll put my email in the chat here, and we'll just get together and chat maybe some night. So there you go. I don't necessarily charge anything. I'm not an accountant, but definitely can pray through some of those things with you. Okay, so going back to the ledger, you're really going to want to make sure that if you only get paid once a month, that you are taking out every single bill, right away. If it's twice a month, that number that your bills are divided by 2, unless, like I said, you've got yourself to the point where your bills are coming in and you're scrambling to get the money. It may take a little while to get there, but I'm telling you, I know people make enough usually in taxes to get them through some of this hump. So when that money comes in, which we have, that's what I'm going to really be preaching over the next couple of weeks. It's almost the end of January, and April is when you're going to be getting some of this money back. It needs to be set aside to help you create margin. So now, when you take that, like I said, so eventually you're going to get to the point where you're either going to take all the money out if you're paid once a month, you're going to take half of it out if you're paid twice a month. If you're, or every other week. So usually most people don't go to divide it by 3. It's usually divide it by 2, or just take it all out. That's like with my grandma with her SSI. She gets paid. She is 82. She has a supplemental insurance policy. Heck yeah. So we got the AARP thing going there. We got her car insurance, and her few other bills that, she and my mom kind of split because they live together. So, yeah, we have to totally take all of her bills out right from the beginning, and then we take what she has left over and we split that into 4, and the months where it's 5 weeks out of the month, we split it into 5. So in the kind of case where, Jennifer, if you're saying that, you're really struggling, I will talk to you guys a little bit about, for a time, my husband and I help people all the time that are struggling. You would be shocked at the people that come through our doors. It is not homeless people. It is not people that are, please do not stereotype people that are struggling financially. It could be anything from a medical issue. My dad is on disability. He had a heart attack and he has severe diabetes and he can't work. He had his leg amputated right before Thanksgiving this year. So, just because my dad didn't have health insurance, at the time, because he had always been self-employed and he just couldn't keep up with the payments, we understand that not everybody has a scenario or a situation that provides them with health insurance and all these benefits and, those kind of things. So in those cases, I'm sure Ruth Ann would agree with me, we, as Christians, we feel that that's when you do sometimes have to seek a hand up. You go to the food bank, you go to the thrift stores, you go to places that are willing to help with the intent of, getting the help until you can, get the help that you need, until you can fix your situation. But sometimes if you are physically disabled, that what people don't understand is that those situations may not change for some people. My dad's heart is not going to get better. He is not going to get off disability. They recently had to start going to some food banks, because their disability just does not cover their bills. And so, I'm talking firsthand here about a situation where, this is somebody that worked hard for a long time, or had, a job or was self-employed or whatever. And, now just is at a point where, they can't sustain themselves. But let me tell you, God has provided there too. He had his leg amputated. They needed a hospital bed. They needed the kind of chair where it lifts you out of the chair. And don't you know, a church in our local area, totally, Five Forks Brethren, actually, Ruth Ann, in case you're wondering, which is over like one town away, they had a whole setup where he could go in and they had all those things. And he was able to get the hospital bed for free. He was able to get, now he can't keep it, but they said he could use it indefinitely as long as he needed it, and same with the chair that lifts him out. So these are the things that we all have to do, from time to time, is seek help outside of our situation. Our church has a deacons program where people go to a class at our church, and if they go through the class, then they're eligible for a $400 grant to help pay a bill. So sometimes these are things that, that we have to do. And, sometimes a tough decision might be something like, I, have a car, but I really can't afford to maintain it. So sometimes you just have to totally, go out on a limb and get rid of that car and pray that God will provide, travel expenses for you, or traveling, mercies that, He provides a way that you're going to be able to get from a place to a place. So these are some really tough decisions. Or maybe you have to move into low income housing, or maybe you have to move in with a family member, because, and I'm reading what you're saying, Jennifer, that is very true. Just, in the case of my dad, they don't get food stamps because they make too much on between, disability and the things that the other income that they get, that they make too much. So that's when sometimes you do have to go outside and go to a food bank and do different things like that to help. And really, but once you stick with all the cheap living that frugal living we're going to be talking about, you're going to be living on a dime, girlfriend. So we're going to pray for you that God's going to bless you this year with this. So, okay. So coming back to, now that you've set up a budget and you know that you have to take those bills out, and really try to, get your bills paid up in advance, like I said, with the taxes. And it may mean not going on vacation this year. It may mean, trying to places that, provide toys for your children this year, if you have to do that, not going out and spending your own large amounts on, Christmas gifts, and seeking things elsewhere, but just planning so that you can get yourself back on track with those things. So we're going to come back to talking about once we get our budget set up, we need to really look tonight, and this is what we did not do on Tuesday that I kind of regret, is that we did not talk at all about how debts fit into your fixed bills. If you are at a point, I do believe that there are people truly, I used to be really judgmental and think that, if they would just do this or that, that's not, and I've seen it now that with our ministry, that's not always the case. You can't plan for catastrophe always. So that's why we have to really talk tonight about trying to build that margin up and get an emergency fund together. But I will tell you, what I think is really ironic here is that, even millionaires can build an emergency fund, but if God wants to take it all away, He's going to do that. So, it should never be your total security. It's just one of those things where I do think that God tells us to prepare ahead of time for things. So we definitely want to make sure that we're, building that emergency fund up. And so I'm not a financial advisor. We have that disclaimer, on all of our website and everything. But what I will tell you is that no matter what financial guru you listen to, they most say that you need to have 3 to 6 months of your paycheck saved up. So whatever your net pay is, if you get $1,000 a month on disability, then you should have $3,000 in a savings account somewhere. And so the way that we, like I said, one of the best ways to do that is through your taxes. If you get disability and therefore you don't pay taxes, then it's going to have to be through some other avenue, which I'm highly suggesting that you pray about and ask God to show you how you can build your emergency fund. Do I believe that you should give to the church whenever you owe people outstanding debts? No, I definitely think that, if you talk to Crown Financial, you definitely, in any Christian financial ministry, they all say, you need to pay back the lender first. So, so what we want to do is really talk about, if your credit cards are that far gone where you just are not going to be able to pay them back, I really suggest, first of all, that you pray about it, because I'm not an advocate for bankruptcy in any means. I believe that God wants us to pay our creditors back. I do think that there are some extenuating circumstances sometimes where you might, like whether it's a student loan or whether it's, you had some debt and then you have this crisis and now, that kind of puts you behind the 8 ball. Things like that do happen. And so, sometimes you have to let things maybe, at some point go into collection to get yourself on a budget. In other words, if your situation is that dire, you may need to actually let something go into it. My top choice there would be obviously to hit up a fixed bill like this and maybe move in with somebody so you're not paying rent, or get a roommate so you're splitting the rent, or trying to come up with one of the, I mean, that to me is the better way to do it. And then actually, come down here and then, think about if you could split these in half with somebody or get rid of one of these bills, then you would have that money to start paying back your debtors. But I do feel that if your situation right now, there has been no door opened for that, then you would obviously have to maybe possibly let some of these things go for a time, and then work on improving your credit that way. But I hate to see, when you're just trying to get a budget set up and you're trying to get some margin built up, you can't be putting every penny into paying back on your credit cards, because then you're not creating margin and you're just going in this vicious cycle around and around and around. We call it going around the same mountain. You're just going around that same mountain and you're not getting anywhere. So the best way is to obviously, like I said, set aside, start trying to set aside money. So I think I've tried to give you some tips tonight, on how to start looking at your budget and trying to create some margin. And we have about 15 minutes, and so we're going to talk a little bit into how to create, margin by reducing your expenditures in these categories. And if all you have left over to live on is this, or this, then you're probably already maybe good at trying to make something out of nothing. And so, for example, you should always be putting this principle into your life of, how can I make something out of nothing? And it might be more work, but you might have to coupon, like we said last time, or you might have to get on FreeCycle and go pick up something for free, or you might have to, there might need to be, some level of work on your part. And I do consider my couponing definitely a part-time job. It takes me, and the thing is, you have to get some people in your family to come alongside of you, whether it's like my son and my husband, they know to help coupon. My mom helps me coupon. We all coupon together. Sometimes I've had couponing kind of get-togethers where we get together and we coupon, make it a girls' night, and we just coupon together, so it's not such a drag or seems like work. It's something fun. So obviously, you're going to want to try to limit some of these expenditures. And so it might be starting something as simple as, like, we shop at Aldi in our area. Aldi is it's like you go in and things are still on pallets. And my husband lived in Germany for several years, and he was very used to Aldi. So for us, it wasn't about it wasn't necessarily about thinking, oh, we're going to this poor grocery store. For us, it was, oh, it's Aldi, and we're used to that. And so they have things on pallets. And so, for example, cereal there might be $1.79 a box. I have been to Walmart I was just there tonight before our webinar, and I didn't see any cereal under $2, hardly. I mean, there was like I searched the entire whole aisle, and I could not see one thing of cereal for under $2, except for maybe that one, there's like one brand. But anyways, so most things are, so even with my coupons, I can sometimes get cereal cheaper than that, but for the most part, if I'm in a hurry, then I just go to Aldi, because I know that I'm going to get, most of my cereals for $1.74 or whatever. So it might be something like changing your supermarket store. It might be, Angel Food Ministries, that's another one. It might be going to food banks and creating dishes out of your food bank stuff that, creating meals and then freezing meals out of that, once a month cooking or something, taking all that food and putting it together and building your menu around what you got for free, or low price with the Angel Food also. The other thing is, we've talked about clothes, going to thrift stores. The other couple things that we did talk about Tuesday night that I want to bring up again are having a price book. And I talked to the class that I taught at church that Ruth Ann was at. We talked about building a price book where you basically, and I'll just kind of do it here on the screen. I keep mine in a notebook. I don't even have an Excel doc, but I put, I'm very specific about certain brands like Charmin and Bounty, those kinds of things. And so I might put up here like store 1, 2, and 3, so that when I go into my stores, I know what a good price is. So this is maybe store 1, store 2, and I don't usually do more than 3 stores. But anyways, so store 1, store 2, store 3, and then I might put here, $12.99 for, so many square feet. And then I'll come down and I'll just list all the things. And To be honest with you, I haven't used my price book in a while because I just know most of the prices kind of by heart now. I know what a good deal is. I don't have to look it up anymore. So I just, that's one way of making sure that you know that you're definitely getting a good price on something is to keep a price book. So, and then once you get a low price, that's the thing. See, now it's like you're a stock market person kind of in a way, only in your home with your all your food and everything. I mean, everything you buy, you just like stock, you buy when the price is low, and stock up when the price is low. So if you can get 20 rolls of toilet paper for super cheap, then what people have a hard time thinking of is, and this is the thing, well, I don't get paid for another 2 weeks. I always just get one thing of toilet paper for 2 weeks, and instead of stocking up, they just buy at that same price all the time. But the thing is, like CVS, and that's what we'll talk about in the couponing webinar that I'm going to be giving sometime this week. If you guys want to be a part of that, let me know. But that's what I teach in the couponing classes, is how to use the coupons to get the price extremely low or free so that you can stock up when those prices are low. And then, when price, because every store has something go on, every item in every store goes on sale between every 8 to 12 weeks, usually at the most. So what you want to do is, like I said, just like with your grocery list, sit down with our coupon database that we talked about and use those things. So over the next couple weeks, we're really going to be hitting up these areas of how do I create margin in all these spending categories. So just like, and I'll be posting this in the blog later tonight, I went to Walmart tonight, and you shop clearance, and this is what I said Tuesday night. You always go to the clearance racks first. So tonight I was checking out the Christmas clearance, and I got cans of snow spray that normally were like $3 or $4, and they were still there, and they were down towards the grocery end actually, and they were 31 cents a piece. They were normally $3, but they were like 31 cents. And so, I actually stocked up on that because that's for next year. I'm probably going to use that to create some crafts to give to people as gifts. So they had the little hangers for the ornaments, 24 cents for a box, and normally even at full price say to be $1. So you're always trying to always think of buying when the price is low. Get out of the mindset. You don't go to the store and just get everything that's on your list anymore. You want to start trying to make a list of what your needs are going to be, buy when the price is low and stock up. Every couple weeks, every 8 to 12 week cycle, you're going to stock up, because like for example with CVS, they ran a deal for months and months. They haven't done it recently, where you spent $25, but you got $15 back in ECBs. So I would get like the Bounty and the Charmin, and I would use my coupons with that, and then I'd get it like right to 25. And if I didn't, maybe I'd throw in some puffs that were in that deal too. And then I would actually go ahead and once I got my cash back, my net out of pocket was like maybe $12 or $13 for like all this Bounty, Charmin, and puffs. It's crazy. And I have my card, and my mom lets me use her card. So I was actually, totally like, stocking up. And the thing that I will share with you guys, since you're so lovely enough to come to my webinar, is that on Thanksgiving morning, if you go to CVS, I go in with $7 and I roll all my transactions, and you can walk away. I walked away this year with a minimum $150 worth of free stuff. And that's how you start building your stockpile. Not that I have so much stuff. Like I walked in and they actually had earbuds that I've spent $7 for, but I got $7 back. So I went in, I spent my $7, I got $7 back, and then they had all this free stuff in the flyer where everything I would get, then I would try to add it up to around $7. I'd give her the ECBs that I had, and then I would get more ECBs back from those, and then I would get near $7, and I'd give her my ECBs and coupons, and then I had some money makers where I was making money off of this stuff. I mean, you have to start thinking totally differently. It took me, I remember the first 6 months of doing this, it was like this total switch over from just the way I used to shop to the way I shop now. And it's a paradigm shift. It's a change in your thinking. It's a change in the way that you shop. Your behavior is going to be changing. You're not going to be just going out and buying full price Charmin and full price Bounty, and you're thinking, where can I get the best deal? What's the best price? You're going to be looking at your flyers. And this is what I want to show you real quick, because we only have about 8 minutes left, and I really think this is important, and I want you to see this. First of all, okay, restaurant.com, here's another example. Okay, right now there's a promo code dinner. So we're going with friends to a comedy club on Sunday night that for my husband's one Christmas gift, where it's a comedy club in Harrisburg, which we're in PA, and I spent $10 on Groupon to get 4 tickets that are normally $10 a piece. So we're taking our two friends out to this comedy club, which would have cost me $40, but only cost me $10. And then I'm doing 2 $25 restaurant gift cards to this, it's a Mexican restaurant in Harrisburg. And yeah, that's real good. It's not really a saloon, but anyways, it's like a Mexican Applebee's, I guess I should say. But anyways, so what we have to do is, we bought these 2 $25 gift cards. I'm buying 2 of them for $8. I have to spend $35 when I go, so I paid $4 to get the $25 gift card. Then I have to spend another $10 to get it up to the $35 that I'm supposed to spend. But in the end, I'll have spent $14 for $35 worth of food. So there's just one way, okay? So let me go to the blog and show you some of the other things that we have, okay? The next one is, if you go to stores, drugstores, come to CVS, okay? And when I get off this webinar, I'm finishing up Sunday's new ad, but this is the ad that's still good. You're going to go, and we have already gone through the entire flyer for you. You do not have to do this work. We have sat down. By the time the new thing rolls around on Sunday, this will already be up Friday night, 2 nights before, where you can come in and see what the hot deals are. So what you do is you click the box. Okay, so here, Luden's Throat Drops, $1.19. But if you buy 2, which would make $2.40, and you have $1 off, then you're paying $1.40 for 2. Which I'm still not sure. We must be missing an ECB here, because I don't know why it says as low as, $1 off of 1. I'm sorry. So if you have $1.19, you pay $1.19, and then you have $1 off of 1 coupon, then you're getting cough drops for 19 cents. Okay, Carmex lip balm, you buy 2 at $2.40, you have $1 off of 2, that makes it $1.40, divided by 2 would be 69 cents each when you buy 2. So as I'm going through all these deals that I want to do, it's popping up on the right-hand side, and then you just print this list, and it tells you where to find those coupons. And so I'm not going to get into all that tonight, because that's our coupon webinar that we're going to do. But we have the 3 drugstores, and we have several of the grocery stores, and if we don't have one that you need, I'll find somebody that does it, or I'll add it. The other thing is, you can print coupons directly from our site under coupons or print coupons or Red Plum, but you can also come down to the coupon database and you can search for a coupon for any item. So if you're going to the store and heaven forbid, your guy's losing his hair and he wants some Rogaine, okay? I'm just being goofy here, but you would type it in and hit search, and it tells you where to find all the Rogaine. So this week, Nicorette, there was a huge coupon for Nicorette this week. It's going to be like $14 or $13 for a box. At CVS this week, it's like $15 off right there. There it is. Let me come back up. $15 off of 1 from the Red Plum from January 1st. So these are other ways that you can save money. There are so many ways on the internet to learn how to be crafty with things, and frugalfreecycle was the other one that I talked about the other night, where you sign up on that email list and you get, people that want to get rid of stuff, they email everybody and you can decide if you want it or not. And I was telling the other class that we got a hutch, a bookcase, that way. We got a mantle that it was a fireplace, just the top part of the mantle we added to it. Now it looks like a whole fireplace with a mantle, but instead of the fireplace on the inside, we have bookshelves. And my husband built that for free. So what we have to do, you really have to, find these ways of buying when the price is low. For example, like we talked about in Tuesday night's class, starting a gift closet. Like I told them Tuesday night, I was at Walmart the other week right after Christmas, and on clearance they had these like $10 fleece blankets on clearance for $2.50. I bought 4 of them as gifts for coworkers for throughout the year here. There are some birthdays coming up. and different things that came up. So I bought a couple of those. I stocked up and put them in my gift closet. With my son being in school, I buy a lot of kids' toys on total clearance, and then they become birthday gifts later on. I make a lot of homemade cards. I have my son make cards, for the birthdays of his friends. I don't go out and buy one. We do a lot of those kinds of things. Cards are probably the number one huge amount of money that you spend on something that's really unnecessary. It gets thrown away. But at the same time, there are times where we do buy cards, but I buy them on clearance or I buy them with a deal. And so that's the other thing about the blog. Tomorrow they're giving out 10,000 free cards on cardstore.com. If you come back to the blog at 9 a.m., the link will be ready for you, and you can actually go to cardstore.com and get a free card. Here, the first 10,000 customers, it's going to be at 9 a.m. So, and it's even, they said that some of the people that got it told me you can even use it for like picture cards, like if you want to make, and they ship it to you for free. So, these are some, Starbucks tomorrow is the last day that you go in and you ask them to try a sample of your coffee. And if they don't give it to you, you ask for the freebie that comes with it. There's a great size sample of bag of Starbucks ground coffee. I mean, that's some nice, good stuff. The other thing is to come back to the blog, and if you come up here to freebies, okay, it'll take you through all the posts that we've posted about freebies lately. And the biggest thing about freebies is that you get coupons with them usually. So here, there might be a rebate or something with them, but right now you can get a free Glade Expressions fragrance mist after rebate, and at Target you can get it super cheap. A free Land O'Lakes butter spread with olive when you buy two. I mean, we're constantly giving you, free stuff that you can get that way. And once you start obsessing about that, then you actually can kind of turn that into a fun, part-time job. And so, you're spending so much time couponing and saving money that you're not spending money, which sounds kind of weird, but it's true. I mean, that's definitely happened to me, is that we have just spent so much time learning on how to save money, whether it's making homemade, egg salad or tuna salad for lunches instead of buying expensive lunch meats, to, cook it. Like I said, we cook when the turkey is done at Thanksgiving. We cook up the turkey that's left and make turkey chowder out of it. And that's the other thing, creating less waste to help you create margin even in the area of food. So these are some things that we're really going to get into, next week, and we can maybe do another webinar down the road with that too. But Martina, I think is it Ruby Tuesdays that you get a free burger, or is it Applebee's or TGI? For one of those you get a free burger. So I went with my mom last year and got this ginormous burger on my birthday for free. So, and the other thing is, coupons. Like today we had the coupons that are, let me come down here. Oh, where are they? The coupons that Surviving the Stores every Friday gives us these she's another blogger that I'm kind of pals with. She gives us this list of all these retail coupons that these kind of coupons are probably not going to be in the coupon database, but if you go to the Surviving the Stores, she has a whole page dedicated to all these different retail and restaurants. So here's Old Navy, Party City, Kirk, any coupon that's out, she has it. Arby's, Friendly's, these kind of things. It's just so neat, all the stuff that she has. And the other thing is, here are some of the coupon YouTube videos you can watch if you want to, about, other ways to learn how to coupon, So these are just some of the things that maybe at some point, we need to open up a webinar to where we can all talk even and share ideas, depending on how many people would be into the group or whatever. But so yeah, you really have to try to create this margin in these different ways. And so the point is for you to start being creative in your own life. It's like a work of art, painting the picture of what your life's going to look like in a year based on what you're doing now. Think of it, my husband's very artistic. He's, whether it's decorating. I mean, I've never met anybody like my husband that can just turn nothing into something. He is a great photographer, and he's done a lot of artwork, and then he goes, and buys photo frames and puts his artwork in it. And he has actually, my husband and I both have painted pictures for our son's wall that we, don't have to do. So, we don't have to buy or whatever. We actually painted this, Sesame Street elaborate painting with oil paints and freehand. So if you have a talent, and that's the other thing about creating income we forgot to talk about. If you have a talent, barter. If you're disabled and you live at home, what can you do that can you can make things that can be sold, you can work online on the internet, you can, there's all kinds of ways to make money on the internet, different ways, things like that we can talk about. You can become a customer service rep for certain companies where you work from home with a headset, from your computer. So all these, things that you can do that, whether it's even, believe it or not, this is one, managing, just different, thinking outside the box here. Let's say in your area, people like to have yard sales where you organize it and then you have everybody donate so much for their table that they want, and then you take a admin fee off the top of that, where you set it up and there's all kinds of ways to be creative, all these things that you guys talking about. Etsy, that's a great thing to do. So, so these are all things that, you want to try to make sure that, when you're spending your time, instead of spending money, you're creating money. Okay, so let me say that again. That's really important. Instead of spending money, you're creating money. And if you do time and time again, if you spend all this time that you used to, maybe do this or go here or do that, doing something that's a behavior that creates money or at least doesn't spend any money, whether it's getting a free Redbox DVD rental code and that night you watch a movie for free, So those are some different, things that you need to be thinking about. So taking that time, not that you want to be obsessing about money per se, what you want to be thinking about and thinking a lot about is how you spend your time and what you're doing with it. And so maybe, volunteering. Maybe you're out spending money, but instead you need to be volunteering. I don't know. But again, you should be trying to create money or at least not spend it instead of spending that money. So time is really the biggest way that we get into trouble. I think a lot of times when we spend money is because we either don't occupy our time. Where your temptations are. Maybe it's going to Walmart. Maybe it's, we all have those temptations of things that we know where we spend the money, and so those are the things that we need to stay away from and get into these other habits. So I probably have talked way too much and we're 4 minutes over, so I apologize for that. But so hopefully tonight you've learned a little bit about setting up your budget, okay? And again, going back to before we, shut down for the night, going back to really making sure that, you're making sure that these priorities are in order. These are your priorities, making sure that, this is getting taken care of first, and then you're creating margin in these other areas as much as you can, and maybe getting rid of some of these, and setting up payment plans. If it's only $5 or $15 a month, then it's $15 a month. But making sure that your things are in order, so to speak, that you've contacted the reps and the things that you've had to let go for now, you let them go for now, and when you can get back to a point where you can contact them to pay them back, then you do, So hang in there this week. Definitely check in next Wednesday. We'll be back again for the next kind of segment. And, throw out some ideas in the Facebook group for me if you can as to what you want to specifically focus on when we talk about creating margin. They'll be every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the most part. And so we'll email you guys again. You'll actually, from what I'm gathering, I only had to send the email the one time that it's it's supposed to repeat. So that night, maybe by 10 till, if you go back to that same email that you got from last Wednesday's invite, and it doesn't work or something, let me know right away and I'll have to email you. So it should be a repeating webinar. But like I said, let me know kind of what you want to focus on, because we could take this now in a lot of different areas. We could focus on creating margin in food. We could look at creating margin in clothes. We could look at, creating margin in gifts, Christmas, vacation, all those things. We could look at kind of creating margin in those areas. So just kind of throw out some ideas for me as to areas that you kind of want to focus on. And we'll kind of have any specific questions. Again, we're not financial advisors, so we really can't give out like one-on-one per se financial advice. But what we can do are give you tips that have worked for us. That's more what we're doing, or things that we would, like if it were me, we might try something like that. Very good, Robin. You're right. I don't have retirement. I should have had that on my mock budget. You're exactly right. So obviously that's something that, we can take a couple minutes to focus on retirement in a week. One of our weeks, too, that's definitely something that, we definitely want to be budgeting for also in our college funds. And say we don't even have, I think the thing what we need to do is next week when we talk about creating margin, maybe what we need to do is talk about savings accounts and what we should be saving for the future for once we get some of the debt repayments on board and we're starting to create margin. So that is a good point. We'll have to, extensively talk about that with the creating margin also. So maybe the first half we'll talk about that. And then if you want to focus on specific areas, let me know. So, all right, guys, I'm talking too much. So have a good night. And Courtney, whenever you want to get this up in the Facebook group or a link to it, that'd be great, to the YouTube part of that. And hopefully everyone has a great weekend. All right. Talk to you guys later.